All right, let's go ahead and call.
Recording has started.
And Michelle, can you take roll call?
You bet. Mayor Horn?
Here.
Can you hear me now? Alderman Kittle?
Here.
Alderman Lindell?
Here.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Here.
Alderman Montello?
Here.
Alderman Volkert?
Here.
Alderman Kraft?
Here.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America.
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adoption of agenda.
Make a motion that we adopt the agenda.
I
We have a
second.
motion by Mike Montello. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? All right, motion carries. Public comment. Does anybody wish to make a public comment at this time? And at the two people in the audience, and none of them are jumping forward, so I'm going to assume no. Item 6, consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Alderman Kraft would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries. And new business, item 8.1, Jim Zajkowski Proclamation. I'll read most of it. We don't have too long of a meeting. And Jim is in the council chambers here. Whereas the city of New Richmond would like to honor Councilmember Jim Zajkowski for his dedication to the city of New Richmond. Whereas Jim Zajkowski has served as an alderman for the city of New Richmond since April of 1992. And whereas Jim Zajkowski has tirelessly supported existing businesses, being as an economic ambassador, promoting and encouraging new businesses called the city of New Richmond home. And whereas Jim Zajkowski has been an advocate of our community's health and well-being through his support and enhancement of trails, playgrounds, and fields. And whereas Jim Zajkowski has been dedicated to conserving the city of New Richmond's natural beauty for generations to come. And whereas Jim Zajkowski has spent countless hours fundraising efforts for the betterment of our community. Whereas the city of New Richmond proud to honor the service, dedication, and commitment to the citizens of New Richmond. And whereas today is a day to celebrate the invaluable contribution that Jim Zajkowski has made to enrich the lives of these citizens of New Richmond. Now therefore, I, Fred Horn, city of New Richmond, hereby proclaim Monday, June 8th, 2020 as Jim Zajkowski Day. Congratulations, Jim.
Okay. Just like to say, even though I'm still very proud of New Richmond, moving forward on different projects. You know, we've been working on the disc golf. Darren Smallage and myself, we have 40,000 at hand, 12,000. So hopefully we're going to be moving forward on that. Hopefully we'll be building it at Freedom Park, and we'll be working with the committee to get somebody in here and look at the best sites. I think we're looking at about 4 sites in the community. Also like to really thank the mayor, so Mike, Darrell, and all the staff. Transparency we've had, it's been the best we've had every year. Right now, anytime the community wants to look at anything or have questions, they're answered. They can come down here anytime. And the fiscal, how well we've done. In the last 10 years, we've reduced our debt by over community that's been growing. 4,000, now we're right around 10,000. To decrease our debt by over $7 million and also do all three projects, trails, everything else. This is a proud thing. These people that contribute, the staff, the council. I'm just proud of this. I got in Richmond for a good reason, because it's a great place to live. I thank you for the 28 years I had, and I appreciate it. Just seeing what's happening, it's very enjoyable. And if somebody says something negative, I let them know right away that they're barking up the wrong. Thank you very much for the 28 years. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I think we're going to try and take two. We're going to get one with the council. The other side. Tell you what, you hold it. Kind of get in the middle and we'll. Jim would say, simply marvelous.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep. And thank you very much, Jim, for all of your years of service and hard work. All right, item 8.2 is the public hearing variance application, Naser Heights. I will declare the public hearing open. Is it loud enough? We can't hear it in chambers.
Mayor?
Yeah, we can't hear it either, so we're going to start it over.
Good evening, Mayor Horn and City Council. DCCI Investments, LLC has submitted a variance application to reduce the minimum principal front setback for principal buildings for lots 1 through 32 in the Naser Heights development, which is located near the intersection of East Richmond Way and 140th Street. The application was noticed in the May 28th publication of the Star Observer, as it does require a public hearing. Section 121-33 of the City Code of Ordinances outlines the evaluation criteria for granting a variance. In reviewing the request, it is the opinion of City staff that the application does meet the criteria for granting a variance. The elevation of the property drops about 50 feet from the southwest corner of the property to the northeast corner of the site, which is a unique physical challenge. Allowing the future buildings to be 5 feet closer to the principal front property line would provide greater flexibility to the developer and future homeowners when it comes to the backyard, especially in regards to features such as backyard patios or decks. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. City staff recommend approval of the variance request.
and the recommendation is city staff recommends the approval, as Noah mentioned, of the variance request to reduce the minimum principal front setback multiple buildings for lots 1 through 32. Anybody have any questions? Not hearing any. Anybody in the audience have any questions? All right, does anybody else wish to speak? Does anybody else wish to speak? Does anybody else wish to speak? Anything? I will declare the public hearing closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that we approve the variance request from DCCI Investments LLC to the minimal principal front setback for principal buildings for lots 1 through 32 and the Naser Heights development as put forth by staff.
All right, there is a motion on the floor to approve the variance application for Naser Heights. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Tom. A second from Tom, excuse me. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Lindell?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Monticello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Alderman Volkert? Maybe we've lost him.
Is that Alderman Kraft?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so by a motion of 5-4, favor passes. And item 8.4 is request for proposals for the New Richmond Historic Properties nominations.
Good evening, Mayor Horn and City Council. The City of New Richmond received a grant earlier this spring for over $18,000 to prepare nominations to the National Register of Historic Places for 2 new historic districts, one for the commercial downtown and the other for the East Side residential neighborhood. These potential historic districts were identified in early 2019 following the completion of the city's first ever intensive survey of historic properties. This new grant will fund 100% of the project cost, and the work must be completed by August of 2021. The Wisconsin Historical Society issued a request for qualifications earlier this year for our project, and we now have 6 qualified consultants who are interested in performing the work for us. The next step is for the city to issue requests for proposals to these 6 consultants, and ultimately interview and select one of them to do the work. The draft RFP is included in the agenda packet for your review. This was drafted with guidance from the Wisconsin Historical Society and is very similar to the RFP that we issued a couple of years ago for the intensive survey. As always, I welcome any questions that you might have. The City Council should consider a formal motion to authorize city staff to publish the RFP as presented.
Anybody have any questions for Noah?
I have a question, Noah. This is Alderman Monticello. So I'm just looking at the map, and I see the commercial district, and then, so I guess we'll call it kind of the downtown district. And then you have an east side map that looks like it takes in, that goes down East 2nd Street, and it's part of Star Arch, excuse me. I guess I think I'm reading that correct. So those homes that are within that map all constitute homes that are eligible to be part of that historic district. Is that correct? Is every home in the box, they're an eligible home under that, whatever the program is relative to being a historic district?
Yes, so Mike, hopefully you can hear me. I think I've unmuted myself.
But yes, based on the preliminary research, those are the properties that the last consultant that we had believes could be eligible to be included in that historic district. So not to say that when they complete this final step, there may be a slight change, 1 or 2 properties here or there, but based on the work that they've done, they believe all those properties would be eligible. And so all of those properties in the future, if it were approved, all those properties would be eligible to receive the tax benefits that go with the historic tax credit program for improvements for HVAC, windows, et cetera, et cetera.
So, Noah, just for the benefit of anybody who might be listening, but being part of the historic district, and I know we probably talked about this, but it feels like it was a long time ago when we did that survey. But are folks who own these homes in the district, does this represent anything constraining to them?
No. So a lot of times people think that, I have a historic building, that means I can never tear it down, or I can never paint my house, or, there's different restrictions like that. That isn't the case. And as part of this process, we would do a couple of public engagement meetings, specifically for those property owners too, just to address some of those questions. But sometimes that comes up. People think, the federal government has to approve what color I paint my house or what I can or can't do, and that isn't the case.
Thank you.
This is Craig. Is Citizens already currently in that district or a historic landmark building or build or whatever?
Craig, you're breaking up. We can't hear you.
Is Citizens Field currently in that historic designation?
Citizens Field is not. When they did the work a couple of years ago, they did look at park properties. It would not be included in this district. There are some other properties in the community that are eligible to be on the National Register, either as a standalone building or as more of a facility. For example, the Richmond Golf Course they feel is eligible to be on the National Register. So it's not included in this district. There may also be some standalone homes in the community that individually could apply. These are kind of unique in that you kind of have a whole group of buildings all together. And so Citizens Field was not identified, but not to say that in the future it couldn't necessarily meet that criteria. So there's a few different factors that they look at, not just the age, but they kind of look back at what changes have been made over the years and that sort of thing.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that would authorize city staff to publish the RFPs as presented relative to this Richmond Historic Preservation nominations. National Register of Historic Places, sorry.
So we have a motion to approve basically putting out for an RFP. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Carrie. Is there any discussion? Call the roll.
Alderman Lindell,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier, Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert, Alderman Kraft,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
All right, again, 5-0. I think we've lost Alderman Volkert. That passes. Item 8.5 is the CERT, Certified Emergency Response Team Updates.
Mayor and Council, on this action item, we don't have a video, but at this time, we are not recommending any new recommendations in accordance with kind of the guidelines that still have been set forth from the Department of Health, the Centers for Disease Control. We're still recommending that we stay in phase 1 as outlined and as we discussed on May 25th. We do anticipate that at the June 22nd work session, we will bring forward some additional recommendations at that point in time. Did everyone hear me clearly on that? Okay. So tonight we're not looking for any, just kind of providing an update, no action at this time.
Followed by the pound or hash sign.
So, Rayanne, could you just, for the benefits since you're talking about it, just let any of our listeners know what the status is of the Civic Center, the library? I mean, can you just give updates about those specific buildings?
Yep. So the Civic Center has opened in a limited capacity. We are welcoming visitors in through controlled access at this point. We still encourage our residents and our customers to utilize contacting us via phone or online forums just to ensure that we have our capacity of the building in place too. So at this juncture, we opened that on June 1st. You can access the Civic Center through ringing a doorbell, and then a staff individual will come in and greet the individual into the building. That is in place at this point in time through June 30th. The library is still providing their virtual programming and virtual services, as well as their curbside pickup that's scheduled on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And during our June 22nd conversation, we anticipate those are some additional things that we'll bring back in regards to the library and potentially opening in a limited capacity there as well.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Rayanne? Great. Thank you very much, Rayanne.
You're welcome.
Item 8.6, Community Summer Events Proposal.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As the COVID-19 pandemic has caused the summer to look different, City staff would like to offer some safe community building activities and show support to our local businesses. We plan to work collaboratively with community members, businesses, and nonprofits to do things that could include a takeout battle, sidewalk chalk art event, weekly themed photo contests, a new Richmond Strong Gear or coupon book, a Where's Waldo hunt throughout the community, and a new, unique, socially distant fundraiser to support nonprofits. Many of these ideas could be facilitated through social media, with prizes being focused on stimulating our economy and local businesses. The turnaround on this would hopefully be quick, so we can change the narrative from what we can't do to what we can do. The next step for these ideas is to form an informal committee to brainstorm ideas and funding opportunities. City staff recommends council support to further develop these ideas and potential funding sources. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that that just signifies council support to further develop these ideas and potential funding sources. And I think anything that we can do to help businesses in New Richmond and just our community as a whole kind of get going again, we definitely want to support that.
All right, so we have a motion to have staff move forward. Is there a second to that motion?
Alderman Kraft would second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, please call the roll.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert? Alderman Kraft?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman
Yes.
Lindell.
Yes.
All right, and that as well passes. Item 8.7, the 2020 New Richmond Financial State of the City and Sustainability Plan.
Mayor and Council, on March 23rd, the City of New Richmond took swift action to address the COVID-19 pandemic. These actions resulted in the reorganization of operations, mobilization of emergency response, and budget restrictions designed to provide a balanced approach to bridge anticipated revenue shortfalls, safeguard financial reserves, continue delivering essential services, provide business and community support during these unprecedented times. Tonight, I want to provide you with an overview of the financial impact of these steps taken to date, the operations over the last 75 days, our financial approach to the balance of 2020, and a look into our 2021 budget process. General fund revenues through May 31st totaled $3.3 million, or 46.3% of adopted revenues. When compared to prior years, 2020 revenues are slightly higher than 2019 by 6.3%, or $196,000, and 22.3%, or $607,000 greater comparative to 2018. Early projections had anticipated a revenue decrease or shortfall of $450,000 due to the pandemic. However, current trends and additional information indicate revenues will end approximately $250,000 to $280,000 short of budget. Based upon these early projections, the expenditure reductions implemented in March included operating budget reductions of 25%, hiring freezes for intern, seasonal, and open positions, cancellation or postponement of non-essential contracts, training, wellness, and staff development budgets suspended, and a new purchasing policy requiring approval for expenditures over $100. To date, these measures have offset the projected revenue shortfall. As of May 31st, the general fund expenditures are $2.6 million, which is $335,000 below budget, or 11%. When compared to 2019 expenditures of $2.9 million, 2020 expenses are 9% lower. When we look at just May expenditures, those cost reductions are more pronounced, with May 2020 expenditures totaling $401,000, which is approximately 40% less than May 2019 expenditures of $675,000 and 19% less than May 2018 expenditures of $495,000. To date, these expenditure reduction strategies have significantly offset the revenue shortfalls, ensuring the preservation of our city's reserves. Continuation of cost containment strategies through the end of the year are projected to reduce expenditures by $500,000 from $7.2 million to $6.7 million. Likewise, in response to the pandemic, capital projects were evaluated and reduced from $2.5 million to $1.6 million, resulting in a reduction of $920,000 or 35%. While these reductions don't have an immediate impact on our city's expenditures, it does lower the amount required to be borrowed this year. Not only have there been significant financial strategies implemented over the last 75 days, the city initiated a comprehensive mobilization and reorganization plan to provide essential services to our residents and businesses while ensuring the health, safety, and general welfare of our community. These plans required collaboration, outreach, and financial sustainability during the onset of the pandemic and beyond. I want to thank our council, our staff, and our many community members for your collaboration and dedication and commitment to our city during these unprecedented times. Together, we certainly are New Richmond Strong. Some of the highlights over the last 75 days included our New Richmond Strong initiative and community outreach, which included weekly calls to individuals, support to our business community, our community emergency response team, which evaluates and continue to evaluate the health, safety, and general welfare of various events and activities, as well as public facilities. Our communications and continued collaboration with our focus groups, as well as 2 elections that were held with staff running those elections due to the Safer at Home order. As we look forward and continue to navigate the unknowns of this pandemic, we recommend that the financial measures that we implemented earlier this year continue in place for the remainder of 2020. We recommend the following actions remain in place through the end of this year. Hiring freeze of interns, seasonal, and open positions. Training, wellness, and staff development budgets suspended. Operating budgets continue reductions of 25%, and purchases over $100 requiring prior approval. Continuing these measures provides us the following: preservation of city reserves, a projected surplus of $200,000 to assist with our 2021 budget reduction initiative, and provide necessary resources should a resurgence occur in the future. It is further recommended that employees not forego the 27th pay period as previously discussed in March, given cost reductions to date and projected cost reductions being more than sufficient to cover the budgeted revenue shortfalls. Lastly, as we begin the 2021 budget process, it is important that we understand the needs of our business, residents, and stakeholders in this new and dynamic environment. We understand the economic impact that this pandemic has had, and we are focused on reducing our expenditures by 10 to 20%. To accomplish this, gathering feedback from our community will be imperative as we hone in on innovative ways to accomplish the needs of our community during these difficult times. Tonight, we ask the Council for approval to proceed with our financial sustainability plan for the remainder of 2020 and authorization to proceed with the 2021 budget process as outlined in the report. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, this is Alderman Kraft. Rayanne, I was wondering if you could, and maybe this was in your report, it probably was, but if you could let me know what you attribute the revenue increase to for 2020 over 2019.
Sure. And some of that is outlined in the report, Carrie, but greater, some of it is just the levied amount has increased as well. But at the same time, the building permit fees that we have collected through this year are on pace, which is positively impacting those revenue streams as well. And some of our state aids that we had received in 2020 are greater than those that are in 2019. So for example, transportation aids increased about $50,000 compared to 2019 revenue collections in those areas as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I might have one more. Sorry.
No, not a problem. Go for it.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, the operating expenditure reductions, has there been any impact on staff's ability to provide services to residents? I'm just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's a good question. From an essential services perspective, from a public safety and health, that has not negatively impacted that service level. From some things in regards to, recreational type of maintenance of our facilities, those have been impacted. Not hiring seasonal staff obviously has had some impact in the care and ability to keep up in some of those areas. At the same time, those facilities currently are being utilized in a limited fashion as well. So, from that aspect, you might visibly see some impact from those budget reductions that we've had from some of the aesthetics or certain areas maybe not being mowed quite as frequently as you might have been accustomed to seeing in previous years as well. But from a health and safety perspective of public safety, those services have not been impacted. From what our residents would be seeing, there's obviously been some impacts internally from operations when we're talking about deferral of training, deferral of staff development, things like that. That obviously has some impact from just our future development of our staff as well. So those are things that maybe aren't as noticeable or forward facing to our community, but has been impactful.
Okay. And if we were to approve moving forward with the changes that were approved back in March and just continuing with them through 2020, if we were to see a significant shift, say, in collection of revenues, and we don't see that the decrease of $150,000, say, for building permits or something like that, would there still be an opportunity for us at a later date in 2020 to revisit this?
Yes, there certainly is always that opportunity. Continuing to move forward, we'll provide these monthly updates to the council in regards to where we're trending with our revenue and our expenditures. If we're seeing things that are changing, that we'll bring that information back to the council to evaluate further if that's something that we continue with the track that we are on, and potentially the other option with that too is continuing the surplus into 2021 for that to address the 2021 budget needs. But it's something that is dynamic in nature. But at this point too, we feel that it's important to err on the conservative side, to continue to have these cost constraint measures in place so that we continue to be well positioned as we navigate these kind of uncharted waters and what potentially might lie ahead in the fall, should there be another kind of resurgence or something that we don't anticipate either. That just helps give us some of the flexibility moving forward into these coming months as well. I do want to say as well that I think our staff has been extremely innovative in various approaches, thinking, while we've had budget constraints, thinking outside of the box as well. So from, a training, we've utilized and relied heavily on, partnerships that we already have so that we are still continuing in some manner on that staff development. So we're always looking at those options too of how can we partner to continue to keep our costs low, cost contained, but still striving and moving ahead. So continuing to look for grant opportunities. The city was awarded through the Routes to Recovery Act, a $151,000 grant to cover COVID-related expenses. As this coming week, we anticipate that we will learn more about what will be qualified expenses underneath that grant, but that certainly can also offset some of these expenses that we've incurred to date for just our response to COVID. So I think as we, again, continue to navigate the next few months, there may be things that we didn't know that will have a positive impact on the budget, and we would certainly bring that back to the council for further consideration.
Thanks, Ryan.
Alderman Kraft, this is Alderman Montel. I'm just curious, is there anything that you particularly see on there, and it doesn't have to be a specific answer. I'm just curious if there's anything you see on there that's from a reduction standpoint that, that you're just mindful of, that if the revenue to expense situation turns out better than we anticipate, that we'd want to take a look at. And it's not, I'm just curious what you're thinking.
I think part of it is just the staffing, just considerations for the intern, seasonal, and library director positions. I don't know specifically I know that right now, seasonal positions, I mean, not utilizing the different ball fields and stuff, we don't necessarily need people doing the upkeep of those areas. But the library director position, I anticipate the library reopening to the public at some point here in the near future. It's a position that's been vacant for a long time, and I know it puts additional stress on the staff there. And just like the capital projects, I mean, we had a really good capital improvement plan. It would be nice to be able to see some of those things if the timing worked and staffing. I don't know if that's feasible, that we could make a change there. We've also had a couple of staff indicate that the P card approval process at $100 is a little bit difficult.
Thanks, and I think I will add to that, and actually I don't know what staff's plan is, but I assume this is something we're going to revisit at least on a monthly basis, maybe not this detailed, but to get an update, because obviously there is a degree of fluidity here. So I guess, are we looking for a motion to approve? Mr. Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that we approve this financial sustainability plan, but certainly with the understanding that we review this often, and if that's monthly, if that's I guess that's what I'm thinking, just to get updated so that if a situation warrants changing a particular thing, we can do that.
All right, there's a motion to approve the plan. I'll just call it. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that, Alderman Lindell.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert, Alderman Kraft,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Yes.
Alderman Lindell,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes. All right, again by 5, that motion passes. Item 8.8 is the 2020-2021 liquor license fees. Do we have a video on that, or is it just the presentation?
There is a video, or I can present.
Yeah, go ahead and jump into it, Michelle.
All right, the video was riveting, so I'll try and do it justice. But Mayor and Council, I put together a proposal that you'll see in your packet that recommends looking at the fees for 2020-2021 and reducing the liquor licenses by 50%. So the reasoning that went into that, if we looked at the number of months that businesses were closed, or considerably most of them were, that would have been about a 25% time. That was 3 months of the year. And that is what some of the other communities are doing, but it doesn't address anticipated lower use of bars and restaurants and what would happen still in 2021, which we don't know. So we put together the proposal of a 50% decrease in those license fees. There was a chart that showed you that would equal a loss of $7,550, which was already accounted for in the financial sustainability plan.
And then you just wanted to add, Michelle, that the state's minimum rule.
Yes, so the state does require a minimum. So the chart did show the minimum fees that are required. You cannot waive the fees entirely.
So I know a number of other communities throughout the state went to the minimum. Do you know how many went to 50% or how many went less? I'm going to say I know there's a number that went right to the $50.
So I just talked with the areas around us. I didn't go through the entire state, but the folks around us were more in that 25% range. And so I feel better offering more help if we're in the position to do so.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp, and obviously it's up to the alderman. I would propose that we drop it to 50 for all of them. Yeah, you're down 3 months, but these places are hurting. They employ a lot of servers, a lot of cooks, a lot of bartenders, a lot of people have been out of jobs. Yes, there's unemployment, but this is a way to help the owners. Those mortgage payments still had to be made unless they were able to work with their banks. They're in some tough spots, so it's up to the alderman. I would throw out their consideration to put it to 50. But in saying that, the floor is open for motion on whatever you guys want to do.
Michelle, I want to ask you a question. So I'm reading the chart, and for example, under fermented alcohol A, there's 5 licenses. Currently, they pay $100. So that's $500 total gross just for that category. If that's one that you are recommending to go to the minimum. So actually, I guess now that I look at it, there's 6 different licenses, if I read it correctly, and you are recommending half of them to be at the minimum, 3 of them going from $500 down to $250. So in essence, the mayor's thoughts about this would be actually just reducing, I got to do the math real quick. It's about
$4,800 additional.
$4,800 an additional discount is what we're talking about to the effect of the budget. And I do think that it's not unreasonable to consider that. I guess I'd be curious how everybody else feels.
So, Mayor, are you saying that there would be an additional decrease of $4,800 for moving the 3 that stay at $250 down to $50?
Correct. So if you add up, 5, 12, and 7 comes to 24, reducing it by another $200 per. So it'd be 24 licenses reduced by 200 to get you the $4,800. So the impact to the city is an additional $4,800 over the recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that we do drop for just this next year, July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2021. We reduce those 6 different classes of liquor licenses to the state minimum of $50. So that will make trying to do the math really quickly, but that's about $3,800 is what the gross proposed fee. If I do the math right, I take $4,800 off of $7,550, or $2,800. Excuse me. Yeah, my math's a little rough here. It would reduce it down to $2,800. I'll make that motion.
So the motion is to make basically all the liquor licenses for 1 year, $50. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that. Alderman Kraft.
All right. Motion and second. Is there any discussion? Call the roll.
Alderman Kraft?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Lindell?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
I think we lost him, but again, by 5, it passes. And the bars, restaurants will definitely thank you guys for that. Item 8.9 is resolution 06001. authorizing the issuance and sale of $2,701,000 general obligation promissory note. You guys play the video. Then there's a video on it?
Yeah, we'll just go to Ray.
I can just jump in and
All
go
right,
over
jump
it.
in,
So,
Rand.
all right. So Mayor and Council, as you'll recall during the May meeting, we were authorized to solicit bids for the sale of a $2.7 million general obligation promissory note. This note would fund the projects that have been authorized to move forward with, which is the Jefferson and Marshall Street and utility reconstruction, the Double G water main extension, Nature Center to Door Prairie Trail. There was a snowblower replacement that occurred in January, as well as self-contained breathing apparatus replacement, which is a second year of that project for the fire department. And then beginning the design phase of the County Road A trail, which is through a TAP grant. This general obligation promissory note would be issued from a variety of sources, including the property taxes. So 1.2 million would be repaid from property taxes. Another portion would be repaid from water, sewer, and stormwater utility as well. You'll recall that we discussed two options during that May meeting. One option would look at a 10-year level repayment. The other option was a balloon, a 15-year amortization with a balloon payment in year 10. We did place the RFP. We received 3 bids back. The 3 bids were received from First National Community Bank in Richmond, Bremer Bank, and Midwest One Bank. Under both options, First Community was the low bidder. With a 10-year level repayment, the low bid at that was 1.6%, and with the balloon option was just under 1.75%. As we evaluated these options, these are some rates that are at our historic lows, similar to our bond issue back in the 2016 market when I'm not sure if all will remember that, but that again was a historic low point. And as we evaluate this, and when we had talked about the issuance of looking at a couple of different options given the fluidity of the pandemic and the uncertainty as we move forward and into the 2021, we wanted to have these two options to evaluate to determine if it would afford us some additional capacity into the future, and kind of see where we were at today, approximately 30 days after we had discussed this. So based upon our evaluation with Ellers, and I'm not sure, Sean was going to try and join the call. I'm not sure if he is on yet or not, but based upon our evaluation and what we know in today's environment, the interest rates, what it would really do from a capacity side on the general levy or the property tax levy would be about a $40,000 reduction in this portion of the levy annually. What that would equate to on a home of about $250,000 with the current mill rate would be approximately $15 annually. When we look at the larger picture of the issuance, the total interest over the two options has a cost savings of just under $100,000. So based upon where we are at with the rates, which you'll recall our initial evaluation of this, we were anticipating about a 2.5% interest rate. With where we're landing at a 1.6% net and an all-inclusive cost of just under 1.8%. Again, these are very, very competitive rates. And from a staff perspective, we would recommend moving forward with a 10-year option with the level repayment structure from the interest rate savings, as well as at the point in time, if we go with a balloon payment. We would anticipate, again, we don't know what the market will do 10 years from now, but we would anticipate that rates could potentially be higher. So if we didn't have the resources to make that balloon payment, that would require us to do a refinancing at that point in time at a different rate and with some additional cost. So at this point and with where we're at, from a debt capacity as well as a levy perspective from this issuance, we feel that the best option at this point in time is to move forward with a 10-year issuance.
Mr. Mayor, this is Alderman Montello. I'm going to offer that we approve this resolution 062001, authoring issuance of the 2020 general obligation promissory note with the full amortization over a 10-year period with level repayments. And if I just may add, when I talked to Rayanne today, they've done a lot of great work on this, and it's just important for people to understand. I think folks could be listening and saying, well, now, okay, the $250,000 house is $15 more per year. But in terms of what it saves the taxpayers long term, I guess, and Rayanne, because you and I talked about it, using that reference was just for people to understand on that $250,000 house, the cost to them is $15 more per year to not have an excess. I think it was close to $1.2 million of debt remaining in 10 years if we take the 15-year amortization.
Correct. It's just under $1.2 million.
And that's the bid from First National Community Bank.
Correct.
All right, so there is a motion to approve the 10-year amortization with the approval of Resolution 062001. Is there a second to that motion? I'll second it.
I'll second that. Greg Kittle.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Call the roll.
Alderman Kraft,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman
Yes.
Lindell,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Right, and that passes. Item 8.10, 2020 Street Utility Project Property Acquisition.
Evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, part of the 2020 Street and Utilities project includes the construction of a trail that would connect Manette Park with the two crossing locations on West 4th Street, east of L.G. Peterson Park and west of Victoria Park. As part of that project, staff have been in discussions with the owners of 497 Marshall Road about the possibility of acquiring a triangle corner of their property that borders the south property line of L.G. Peterson Park. We've referenced the 2018 sales study and updated for today's real estate prices to assign a value of $4,300 to the approximately 2,446 square feet that make up that remnant parcel. If the city were to acquire it, it would allow us to align the trail as shown on the screen and save 4 or 5 trees that would otherwise have to be removed if the trail had to stay in the right-of-way and then enter the park on the southwest corner. It also would allow us to shorten the length of the sewer service lateral that would serve 736 West 4th Street by giving us the opportunity to extend that lateral out south to Jefferson and Marshall Road. The total savings to the project is estimated at $5,700 versus a purchase price of $4,300. Staff is recommending authorization to purchase the 2,446 square foot parcel at a cost of $4,300.
Does anybody have any questions? Jeremiah? There's a little bit of savings to go ahead and purchase the property versus the extensions and all the other stuff that would have to be done.
Mr. Mayor, I'll offer a motion that we authorize staff to purchase the 2,446 square feet as shown on this attached drawing for a price of $4,300 based on the terms they've outlined.
All right, there's a motion to approve the authorization to purchase the little bit of land. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, call the roll.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Lindell,
Yes. Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kraft.
Yes.
I have
All
not
right,
seen
and that
Roger.
passes. All right. Is there any communications or miscellaneous? So I do want to take the opportunity to thank our staff. We had a march in our community yesterday afternoon, and just kudos to the police, kudos to the staff of all of their efforts to make that happen. Getting into whether the city approved it or not, we did not. We are strong believers of constitutional rights of freedom of speech and freedom of assembly. We did not have approval to do the state highway, but we did it anyways because of our belief in constitutional rights. So I think the police particularly did an outstanding job. Was on short notice. There was pleasant things said, but as for the most part, the march was peaceful. It went on pretty much without a hitch, and I think I am very proud how our community had handled this march in the community, and I'm proud of how the police handled themselves in the march.
I want to second your comments, Mr. Mayor. I thought law enforcement from neighboring communities, the sheriff's department, just a tremendous job. Just outstanding agencies that we have in this area. We're very fortunate and very appreciative of what they've done for us.
Thank you. Is there any other communications? All right, hearing no others, item 10 is closed session. State Statute 19.851E, property at 140th Street, County Double G.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to offer a motion that we go into closed session.
There's a motion to go into closed session. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Please call the roll.
Alderman Lindell,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert, Alderman Kraft,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Different number. All right, so we're going to hang up on this number and we'll dial into the other number, the closed session. Thank you all.
Recording has stopped.
Recording has stopped.